Hey, welcome back to the Passive Buddies podcast. And today we are talking about success, how you can be successful, what you need to do in order to model success. So, me and my co host Brandon are going to talk about different ways you can take what you want to achieve, go and get it through modeling. So, hey, buddy, you okay?
I am doing amazing. And you know what's funny is you used to say, well, you still say it. You just said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What do you mean? That's so
Hmm.
weird. Of course I'm okay." And now I notice that I say that to other people. I always say, "You okay?" And and I've modeled that because of you, because I surround myself with you. And we'll go over those things, how that happens quite a lot when you surround yourself with people that are uh, just making it happen like Brian is. So we have four ways that you can model success. And I feel that these are four ways that you should, and it's not like you should only do one or two, like you should probably do all of them.
Hmm.
And I
Oh,
think that this
100%.
is super good way to really just change your environment because we are the aspects of our environment. What's the word I'm looking for? We are the creatures of our environment. And so if you have all four of these, you're just going to be, you're going to put yourself in a very uh, good place, or you're going to put yourself in a very bad place if you're doing the opposite of these. I mean, like you can do these four things, but if they're hanging out with um, people that are not making it, that are constantly complaining, that are not bettering each other's lives, then you're going to be a product of that environment also. So these four things I think are super important. We'll go over them one by one because I think that they are super important. So, Brian, do you want to start us off with the first one? Because I know you are the master at this.
So by master of this, I've had my fair share, definitely. And I think this one to me it's pretty big. Like you do need to have in your life someone who's been there and done it in order to be able to leverage their knowledge, their shortcuts. So having a mentor to me has always been a massive growth in my own development. Every time I have a mentor, every time I have that mentor holding me accountable, I'm picking their brain. I see massive spikes in my own growth, my own development, and my own income by having those mentors in place. Now, you can have mentors for different things, whether it's mindset, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales. Like specific people, like don't just have a general mentor like who knows a little bit of this, that, and the other, because they're not going to get you to where you want to be. You want mentors for very specific things. So whether it's someone who can teach you branding or sales or like again mindset's obviously a huge one within business, and a lot of courses touch on that. I'll touch on mindset, but they don't, it's never a specific, right, a mindset coach like you, and or a fitness coach. Obviously Brandon was a PT and people would come to him to get like healthy, but it'd be like, right, okay, well I'm gonna make you sweat because that's how we're gonna get you fit. It's a very specific type of mentorship, and to me mentorship is golden to development. I know, for instance, in previous conversations you haven't really gone all out on mentors, and you've done more like this second one that we're going to talk about. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say the next three is more my focus, and that's just my style.
Mm.
You have to do what works for you. So if you're someone who um, finds that having a mentor, having that accountability is important to you, definitely do that because it is something that helps a lot of people. And so number two for me is surrounding ourselves or surrounding myself with people that are doing what I want to learn or just doing the same thing that I'm doing. And in doing so, I kind of learn through osmosis. I'll give you a perfect example. So, when I was a personal trainer, we were just talking about this, as I was training my clients how to be fit, how to achieve their body goals or their mindset goals, they would teach me about business and teach me how to invest, teach me about real estate, teaching me about how to really create a portfolio of assets. And in doing so, I learned as much, if not more, from them as they were learning from me in fitness. And so I learned because I would ask them questions. They were in my same um, I spent the most of the majority of my time with them. So I was able to surround myself with people that were successful, because they were people that could come in at 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 noon, and or even 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock. They didn't have to be at work. They could come in the middle of the day, pay a great deal of money to me, and then essentially just go back to whatever they were doing and still make money. And in doing so, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like that you're not being paid per hour, you're being paid for your knowledge or your investments, or your money was working for you, or your employees were working for you, or whatever that was.
Mm.
And so when I was surrounding myself, I was actually learning and modeling. And I'll give you a perfect example. Uh, my wife, she now likes dark alcohol. We went over the last weekend. We had another vacation. I think it's like our 12th one, and she started drinking old fashions, and she's never drank old fashions. And it's because we've been together for the last 10 years. I've slowly rubbed off on her, and she didn't like all these different foods. She didn't the way I say so. Her mom and her, they don't make fun of me, but whenever they call, I go, "Oh, hi." And so now my wife says that. And so, since she's been with me for 10 years, or with Brian, he said something earlier, or maybe I said something earlier, that now, now that that was what it was. Since I've been with Brian, I talk to Brian every day, and um, I talk on this podcast for a couple hours uh, a week. Whenever he says, "You okay?" I start saying that. So it just goes to show you, when you surround yourself with certain people, you start picking up their little nuances or their little habits. And so if they're being successful, you're going to start picking up those habits and learn from them. Even if they're little, the way you talk or the things you do, or even the like small things, is you're going to pick those habits up just because you're around those types of people. And if they're making it happen, even the way you talk, I mean, even though it seems so minuscule, then being able to pick up the other habits, you're going to pick those up also. So it's funny because it's, people say you learn what is like the terminology is something like, you learn the most from the people, you're the average of the five people you hang around with, which I think is kind of true. I think it's the you learn the most, or you become the most like the people you learn the most from. And so like I said, like I'm constantly learning from Brian, and so I'm picking up those habits. Even though I spend a lot of time with Brian, I'm picking up those the okay, as like different things on, just because I'm around him. And that goes with consuming too.
Mm.
And Brian, we were talking about it earlier on how you essentially hack. And so, Brian, do you want to go a little bit into detail on what you mean by number 3, which we have as consume or hack
Yeah,
other people?
most definitely. So obviously, just circling back to your surround yourself. Brandon said that, touched on it a little bit. So it's like, if you hang around with 4 millionaires, you'll be the fifth, or you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. And they're massive like things that you need to be aware of the whole time. And that's why obviously me and Brandon partner up and we do things together, because we want to be around people like that. When you go, we say it all the time, we joke, don't we? Like, we don't actually want to go outside because we don't want to we don't want to deal with that type of person.
Oh yeah.
Which is the people who are stuck in a matrix. So be very careful about, like, plants can only grow in the right environment, and if you want to grow to a certain thing, then you have to put yourself in the right environment. Now, when we talk about consuming and hacking, because we were talking about the 4 ways to model, like before we commented on this episode, like what four should we talk about, etc. And I was like, well, if I wanted to grow a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, or anything like that, what's the first thing I'd do? Is I'd go and find someone who's done it successfully. I might not be able to afford the 10K, 15K for the mentorship, so I'm gonna have to look and retrace their steps, which is effectively hacking. I know Russell Brunson made it a very famous concept, like with funnel hacking, etc. But when you look at modeling success, of course, that is one way you should do it. If someone has been growing a TikTok channel to like 100,000 followers, go back and see what they're doing, like what hashtags they're using, what trending sites they're using, right? And go and make those notes. And it's exactly the same with a YouTube channel. If you go and purchase any YouTube course, the first thing they're going to tell you to do is go and find the 10 people you want to be like on YouTube. Go find their top 20 performing videos and model them. Okay, don't copy them, model them. And you'll see that throughout the whole industry. I was chatting to a student yesterday, and she was complaining about someone had literally copied her post word for word. And it was a really good post for her. It'd done really well. So this guy like copied and pasted it and used it and got a few more likes. So she was a little bit pissed at that. And I was just saying like he shouldn't have copied it word for word, but the concept of hacking and looking at what's modeling, what's working, and them trying to replicate is something people should be absolutely doing, whether you're trying to get better content on Facebook, whether you're trying to grow a YouTube channel or any other social account, or trying to make money. Follow what's working. Take a look at who has already done it and retrace their steps. And as you say, like listen to them, surround yourself with them, and model what they do.
Yeah, I think that's super important because like for all my sales funnels, everything I've created, I've modeled. I
Mm.
will like my super Facebook tools. I'll give you a perfect example, like every business. So super Facebook tools, I owned like 10 pieces of software that I was using for my business. And I was like, this is just, I have to click on this one, I have to click on that one, I have to click on this one, I have to click on that one to do like that just takes time. Why don't I just combine them all? And so I hired a development team just to model essentially, to take all these 10 pieces of software that I was using and combine them into one. Um, put a little CRM tool on it, put a little bulk messaging on it, like all these things that put some tags on it. So all these things that I needed for my business, I could put into one. So I combined them all, saved myself a bunch of money, and I'm sure all the affiliate marketers were at the point were all using the same tools I was using. And so I was just like, you know what? Now I can sell them to them. And what did I do for the funnel? I copied another funnel and then put it. I found a 2 Comma Club winner that had a good funnel. I'm blanking on his name right now. He is in the gaming. He's I can't think of his name. Yes. Oh man, I can't think of his name. But anyways, I modeled his. I put in my own wording. I put in my own um, uh, Ping June. Ping June. That's what the
Oh
name
yeah,
was.
yeah. I know the
Great
funnel you're on
marketers.
about as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's called $1 Million Ads that I copied, and I took so nothing to do with software. $1 Million Ads and mine totally different, but I liked how it flowed, and I bought his product, and I was like, this could work because it seems like the same. It'd be perfect, and so I modeled it. It did really really well, and so all I did was modeled the layout, took his picture out, put my picture in. He had a little arrow that said something. I had a little arrow that said something, something totally different, but it was the same kind of layout. And it's funny because I won. I bought his course and I won something, and I had an hour video with their ads team, and it was. I showed him my funnel. He's like, this funnel looks really familiar, and I was like, I know it's your guys' funnel. And he was the one that built it. So it was funny. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially the best way uh, to learn for me anyways, is to model other people and to consume their content. So like I'm constantly consuming, constantly hacking what other people are doing and what other people are implementing, and I'm testing it myself. I think that a lot of people don't, they test it, they just model and then thinks it works or don't change anything. But you have to think that like everyone's audience is a little bit different. So you have to see what works for you. Like, sure, that funnel or that piece of work might work, and it might be like a framework, but you need to change it slightly to fit you and your audience because people are there to show up for you. And if what you're putting out is not you, people are like, what is this? This
Mm,
like they're not gonna buy. They're gonna be confused. And a confused mind never buys. So it's good to consume, hack, and then model what your audience or put out what your audience would like based on who you are as a person. That's where I'm gonna end that.
absolutely. And then it goes to, as you say, like you talk about you, and obviously we'll wrap this one up very quickly. Like it's like the final one, obviously modeling is like you have to constantly use your own feedback loop of what's
Right.
working, what's not been working, because obviously we can model all these people, but you are still a unique piece, aren't you?
Right.
Like you are the unique piece in it. So if it's not working for you, something's not vibing, it's that feedback loop from yourself and knowing how to take all that data and go, right, okay, well, that didn't resonate with my audience. I can't pull that little swagger. I can't pull the Monopoly hat off. So it's pointless me taking a picture with it. Like those type of things, like you need to be looking at your feedback loop on your own performance and your own like gut feeling on what everything else above is doing and looking to see how you can improve.
Yeah, I think that's super important because you are you're modeling what your past behavior has done. And so if you're not uh, doing well, like if something's not working, so that feedback loop of that you were talking about is it's telling you like, okay, I need to shift courses here. I'll give you another example. I was last year, I think when we started the podcast, we were talking about heavily into crypto and how amazing crypto is. And I got a feedback very quickly that this crypto market is not sustainable, and it is uh, telling me my feedback loop that I need to figure out something really quick because uh, the demand isn't there. The supply is there's lots of supply, but there's not very much demand, and we need to figure out why this is not the way we want it. And there's nothing I can do to control it because obviously, um, it's the whole market's not doing well. And we talked about in another podcast about our thoughts on crypto. So definitely check out that podcast to find out my thoughts on if it's going to last or if it's not. But it was just a feedback loop for me to say that this isn't working. I need to figure out something else. And I've been doing so well with um, Toro, and we've talked about in another podcast how you can make that 90% automated. That I'm now investing more money, and we talked about it in another podcast. Should I be investing money or not? And you can find out that answer on that podcast. So definitely check that out. But all these feedback loops and these ways to model success are super important to kind of go over the four. And I think a quick rundown is having a mentor, someone that is 2 steps or 1 step ahead of you, that is able to kind of show you what your goals are, what your next steps are, or where you want to be. The second one is surround yourself with people that are kind of just making it happen, that are kind of in the same boat as you or is paddling in the same direction as you. And then obviously consume, hack other people. So these are the people that are like 1 step ahead of you, that are kind of taking you to the next step, that are maybe if you're making $4,000 a month, these are the people that are making $10,000 a month. They're maybe not making $1 million a month, but there is someone who's like 1 step ahead of you. And then obviously yourself. You want to see if what you're doing is kind of satisfying your goals, if it's something that you want to achieve and continuously do and make yourself happy. Because if you're like it's making like if it's doing well for you and it's making you a lot of money, but it's not satisfying or it's being detrimental on your health, then that's something that you should revisit. That's why we have these feedback loops. So Anything you want to add, Brian, as I just take up the stage?
No, I actually think we've covered it nicely. And you are right. Obviously, like success is out there and success can be achieved for everybody as long as you're putting the right things in place. So this
Yeah.
episode, guys, go ahead, take what we've told you and go and implement, because all this information without action is absolutely irrelevant. So go ahead and start modeling those success patterns and go and take a look at obviously what we spoke about. If you've enjoyed the episode, please let us know, like, subscribe, drop us a comment. It definitely helps us with the show and let us know what to provide in terms of content. And we will see you on the next episode.
Peace.